Good evening, everyone. God bless you. This is Erica Bishop. Such a blessing to be here with y'all this evening on When Women Heal Monday Night Meetup. As we are talking about this month, we're talking about emotions. We're talking about emotions this month. So I just want to make sure that you all can see me. Please tag and share. I greatly appreciate you being here tonight. So tonight we're going to be talking about tools for dealing with depression during the holidays. As you know, Thanksgiving will be here before we know it. 2020 is coming to an end very quickly. You can see, but one thing to talk about is we're going to have a variety of emotions during the holidays. This year has definitely served itself as being completely different than anything that we have ever experienced. With that, many of us may have had losses in a variety of different ways, be it job, be it family, be it friends. And we've experienced a lot of different things. Understanding our own personality types is a big indicator of how we and when we think about those persons that are introverts, extroverts, and their personality types. Two things when I was getting this information together for tonight was good evening to everyone. So good to see you. Was thinking about the introvert and extroverted personality. For many people that are extroverts, this has been a very challenging time to be quarantined, to be isolated, to be set apart from your friends. Thank you, from your friends and your family. And also, introverted, it's easier to hide. Being one that is an introvert, it's easier to retreat and easier to hide. Quarantine wasn't anything new for me. It was how I normally live my life. Things with that, though, that I want to share with you all was I am someone that had to be delivered from depression. When I have shared my story and do share my story, it's a situation where understanding that depression is a clinical diagnosis and depression is also a spirit. And in my particular situation, I had to be delivered from the spirit of depression. And it was one that I didn't necessarily know what I was fighting, but I knew that that spirit of heaviness and that place where I would retreat and just thinking it was just normally who I was, it was actually me dealing with depression. And for me, dealing with depression, it was staying at home, not going out for days, shut up in my room, shut up in the house, not talking to anyone. The blackout curtains were my friend, not letting any sunlight in. And then sometimes sleeping when I had my weekends off for work. I guess you could call it a functional depression, because I would get up and go to work. But when I would come home, I could not go anywhere for 3 or 4 days and it not even bother me. I just stay in that one place. And that's okay as a staycation, but when you intentionally decline invitations to do things, not because you're tired or not because you have something to do, you just don't feel like going anywhere. And depression is one of those things that you can't just flip on and off like a light switch. You've heard people that say, oh, just get over, you'll be okay. And it's not that easy. it's just not that easy. You're literally fighting on the inside to come out of this thing that has engulfed your life. So it's a couple of things that I want to share with you as I've gone through my healing journey and the process that I had to go through to overcome the spirit of depression. For me, it was one, as I began to understand my emotions and to understand who I was and to understand how much power I had allowed my emotions to have in breaking those habits and cycles. It was a struggle. It was a struggle because you have these defaults, these automatic defaults that you tend to fall back into, and that's your coping mechanism that you use to validate this is what I'm doing and this is how I'm feeling. So in understanding my emotions and the things that I had allowed to become habits in my life, the procrastination, the self-sabotage, the negative self-talk, the excuses to validate why I was feeling, the emotional eating, the emotional spending. And many of these things I shared as my story in my book, Master Your Emotions, Master Your Life. And just kind of want to share it with you, Master Your Emotions, Master Your Life. I talk about how we give power to your emotions. So when you know your triggers, it helps you to get to a place where you can catch yourself prior to going into what I would call a depressive episode. Now, for me, I dealt with what they call seasonal affective disorder. It was every year about the same time I was at the doctor. It was October, almost year to date, every year for a period of time. I would get sick. I would go into depression. And I noticed this a lot when I was in college. My grades would suffer. I just pretty much would go ghost for the rest of the year. And it wasn't until the new year started and springtime had come around that I would pop back out again. And I could feel myself. It felt like everything was going wrong. All the decisions I made. It was like my life would just bottom out the same time every year. And it was actually what they call SAD, seasonal affective disorder. So, and this doesn't necessarily happen in the wintertime. Some people have it in the spring. Mine just so happened to be in the fall of the year. And I would just get lethargic. I would get very tired. And I would just be engulfed in this place of regret, sadness, misery. And it followed me for many, many years. So some of the different things that I want to share with you, because I do have a lot of notes and I don't want to take a lot of time tonight, but we can always pick up the conversation. And if you have any questions, please ask, please reach out, please leave your comments, please share, please tag with someone who may need this information. When we talk about SAD or seasonal affective disorders, like I said before, most of the times it happens in the fall of the year, but for some people it does happen in the spring. And there are a couple of things to look out for that are considered to be symptoms that I want to share with you. And that's feeling depressed most of the day, almost every day. Losing interest in activities that you've once enjoyed. You just begin to pull away from things that you would normally do. You always decline offers to do things. Being lethargic, having very, very low energy. You're going to also probably see that you would even have bouts of insomnia. not being able to sleep, not being able to get a complete night's sleep that hasn't been interrupted, an uninterrupted night of sleep. You're not waking up like every hour on the hour, or just the short little bursts of rest, and changes in your appetite and your weight. So for some, depression means I don't want to eat anything. And then for some, that's all I want to do is sit and eat. I want to eat all the comfort food. I will cook all the comfort food to make myself feel better. I will fix all these big meals so that I could feel better to eat. Easily agitated. You're on the edge a lot. Everything feels like an attack. Not having focus. Foggy brain. Not being able to, your mind wanders off. And oftentimes when your mind wanders off, it wanders off in a place of regret. The mistakes that you've made, you begin to focus on past mistakes. And I call it the shoulda, woulda, coulda land. You end up in the shoulda, woulda, coulda place. When I was dealing with depression, I would rehearse in my head, I should have done, I would have done. If I could do it again, I would do it. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. And I stayed in that place. And it's like a spiral staircase that you keep going down because you should have done, you would have done, I could have done this better if I had said this, because I had been in a situation when I had repressed my emotions and my feelings so much. All of that stuff was bottled in on the inside. So also that feeling of hopelessness and worthlessness and guilt begins to consume you. So depression is like, and there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about this. When the house is swept clean, if it has not been filled, that spirit that has been swept out of it, it will bring back 7 more worse than the first. So depression is like this magnet for other things of negativity to attach to it. The unworthiness, the guilt, the shame, the regret, the fear. The depression opens up the door for all those different things. And I know we're talking about this and we're going to talk about the tools, but just for someone who may think this is just who I am, that might not necessarily be the case. You may be dealing with some parts of depression. And especially when we're talking about frequent thoughts of harming yourself in a negative way. One of the other symptoms of SAD is oversleeping. And in the springtime, again, it's appetite, sleeping, and that feeling of anxiety. But what I want to share with you, which is most important in the tools to move out of that space. When you get to a place where you can understand your personality and you know your triggers, you know the things that cause you to be sad, you know the things that are trying to pull you into a depression. If it's a loss of a loved one and it's that time of the year, that's their birthday, that's their the time of their departing. If it's a particular memory that you've had of that person, that may be your trigger. It could be a smell, it could be a song, it could be something that will invoke a memory. It could be a picture. Those are the different things that we have to pay attention to that would cause us to have the triggers to put us in that space. Now, when we're talking about from a grieving standpoint, one of the most beautiful things you can do is to create a beautiful memory in their honor. So with that, I would suggest, and I talked about this last week, giving to a family in their honor. Naming a project after them that would allow you to be out with other people so that you're not in the house or you're not in a secluded place and have isolated yourself from someone. Creating a foundation. And it could be whatever that person's name is. So my grandmother, her name was Elizabeth Wallace. So if I wanted to create some type of giveaway each year, this is the Elizabeth Wallace Foundation. And for her birthday is in the month of March. My grandmother would have been 100 years old this year. She was born in 1920. And to start a project and to do a giveaway in honor of Elizabeth Wallace, or to start a scholarship in that person's name, to bless someone in their memory. That is one thing you can do to keep you from thinking of all the fact that you miss them, but they live on through legacy. We've been talking a lot about legacy. How do we create legacy? And you create that memory around their birthday, around the holidays, around that significant time with that individual. The other one is perfection is good. I'm not saying not to do things in a perfect way, and we are to do everything with excellence and an excellent spirit. But someone who had to be delivered from perfectionism. Perfectionism can breed procrastination. Perfectionism can breed comparison. Perfectionism can breed that negative self-talk when it comes to you've got to do this extra thing. There's a great book that was written many, many, many years ago called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And it's how not to be inundated with all the details all the time. Those who deal with the perfectionism nature, we like the details in everything all the time. And sometimes it's not even necessary. It's not. It's not even necessary. Don't even sweat it. Do what you need to do and let the other part, let the chips fall where they may. It's not to be over and inundated with the details. Staying connected is very important when dealing with depression during the holidays. And when we talk about our triggers and being aware, that's the self-awareness piece. So you got 4 parts to emotional intelligence. You got self-awareness, really 5. Self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management, and empathy. As you know yourself, you will begin to understand the people around you. And it's very important when we talk about our friends, our homies, our girls, those people who we are divinely connected to, knowing their habits, their proclivities, their defaults. Those things are important when it comes to that iron sharpening iron and being that support system for your friends. So when you see that their routine is a little bit different, all of us have standard routines, but you see that their routine is a little bit different and you see that something may be off, check on them. That's a good thing about knowing the people around you. We must know those that labor amongst us. When you know those people around you, you know when something is a little bit off and I may need to spend a little bit more time with that individual, or something seems to be a little bit different. So your support system is very much important, because this is when you have that safe space of those people who know you, and you know that they have your back. You can tell them, I'm struggling this week. So-and-so's birthday is coming up tomorrow. Please check on me. It's okay to be vulnerable enough to tell someone, I'm going to need your support in this particular place, this particular month, this particular day, and this is the reason why. And that's the beauty about knowing yourself and the beauty about people who know you, so they can be that support when you need it. It's not, support is great when everything is wonderful, but it's about that support when you know you're struggling in that space and depression may be trying to creep up on you, and you know you need to be able to say, I'm going to need to lean in and lean on you for this period of time because I don't have enough strength right now. And it's good to have people that can gird you up. Do something different. Holidays are coming and life is different as it is. Be creative. Just think outside of the box. We don't have to do the norm. We can do what we wanted to. It's our business. We can do however we want to do it. You can do Thanksgiving however you want to. You can do Christmas however you want to. You can celebrate it for 26 days, 30 days, however. I celebrate my birthday the whole month of June. Some people just celebrate one day, but that's your business. Whatever makes you happy, that is what you should be doing. Those things that bring you joy. Because it's all about being happy so that you can do the opposite of whatever it is that will cause you to be depressed, or that thing that will trigger depression is to do what makes you happy. It's having dinner dates, a walk each day. Even if, and we can do social distance, small gatherings, whatever we need to do to change the environment, because we have the power to be the thermostat and not the thermometer. I've always believed in that. We have the power to change the atmosphere. So we talked about your support system. Let's talk about pets. Pets are the most beautiful thing to help us. It's just like taking care of children. They love on you. They just have pets. Pets just have this unconditional love. And for many people, getting a pet was some of the best things that they've ever had to do, especially if you're an empty nester, you no longer have a spouse that may be around, and you want that interaction. A pet is a good thing. You can go to the rescue shelter. And even if you're not necessarily ready for a pet, ask some of your friends who may have one that you could kind of be a pet babysitter, so to speak. They're little fur babies. So maybe that's something that you can do. Babysitting is a good thing. To give a couple a long time, and you could be the babysitter. To have the children, small children in the house, always bring a lot of joy. They have their own unique way of putting smiles on your face. And I'm so excited that my nephew is coming in the next couple of weeks, y'all. He's 2 years old. I love my little Denver. So those things can bring about that joy and that spark of life that you need. Of course, being mindful of your thoughts and practicing mindfulness. So when we're talking about negative self-talk, and those things that that we have to make sure that we are mindful of what we're saying to ourselves, and the affirmations. And sometimes it's okay. I do it. There are times when I stand in the mirror and I have a good old girlfriend, get yourself together type of conversation. And I will stand in the mirror and I say, you are amazing. You are beautiful. You are strong. And these are the things that I had to do to come out of that place of depression. For 30 days, every day, every morning, I stood in the mirror and I talked to myself. You're your biggest advocate and supporter. I had to stand in the mirror and talk to myself and to tell myself, you are worthy. You are blessed. You are highly favored. You are loved. You are peace. You are joy. And it's okay to do that. And whenever you need, that's what they make mirrors for you to look at yourself and to tell yourself how beautiful you are. Not for you to criticize what's wrong with you. Mirrors are made for you to tell yourself how beautiful you are. How wonderful you are. That you're a bad mamma jamma. I'm dating myself now. But that's what they were made for. And to be mindful of the thoughts that you have. And in those places where you find yourself being very critical, replace it with something else. When you catch yourself being critical, that one thing that you say that may be negative, find 5 other things to negate that one thing that you said, to wash out the negative part. Bright colors, bright colors, bright colors. Colors evoke a different type of energy. Colors evoke different types of emotions. Reds and yellows and blues bright colors. So wherever you can, if you like to decorate, or some small things, it'd be a painting, a pillow, something very simple, decorating and bright colors are the things that can help evoke a different emotion of happiness and joy. I know for me, a couple times a year, I know when I'm going through a significant change when I like to redecorate. Most recently, I did my bedroom. I changed out my whole bedding because I wanted a different type of energy. What I had reminded me of something in my past. So I stripped it off, got rid of it, and put something else on there, inexpensive. Don't sleep on Walmart, Roses, Maxway, what have you. They got some great deals and they got some nice stuff. So I got a whole new comforter set for like $49, which normally anywhere else probably would have cost me almost $200. But it was what I needed. And I put a big bright red blanket right on top of my bed to invoke that energy. And I know for me now, I normally have blackout blinds because of the sun in the summertime. But now I'm changing them to something that's going to let the light in early in the morning. I know for me, I work for in supply chain and distribution, and we're a 24/7 operation. So sometimes I go to work in the dark and I come home in the dark. But I have to make sure I go outside to get some sun. When we find ourselves in that depressed place or feeling the anxiety of what it could be, go outside and stand in the sun. Take a quick walk around the neighborhood. Sometimes just sit out on the porch just to get the sunlight on your face is a beautiful thing. Create a spontaneous jar. Now, this came to me earlier today, and the idea of this was to make a list of all the fun things that you like to do. It could be riding your bike, walking in the park, planting flowers, painting. Something inexpensive, but something fun that you like to do. If it's baking a cake, if it's cooking a particular meal, if it's a song that you like, or it's a dance that you like. Make a list of all these small things, put them on a little slip of paper, put them in a jar. And when you feel as though you're about to hit that mood or that emotion, shake up your jar, pull that one of them out, 2 or 3, and do that thing right at that moment. Be spontaneous. It breaks you out of your norm. It breaks you out of your routine. Be spontaneous. So if it means that you need to put on a little bit of Prince or Michael Jackson or whatever that favorite song is or whatever that favorite thing you like to do, be spontaneous. When you pull it out, honor it. Do it and watch that thing come up off of you, that spirit come up off of you. So let's talk about your time. Time management is very important because sometimes we can overwhelm ourselves, and that being overwhelmed can make you feel depressed, like it's too much. It's okay to say no. No is a complete sentence. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say, I don't have time to do that today, so that you can make sure you have me time for yourself. Your own personal me time is so important, especially when you have children, you have a spouse. It's completely different when you're single, and it's completely different when you're married and you have other responsibilities. So you need to have that me time either way. If you committed to a lot of different things, it's okay to pull back, to make sure you take that nice hot bubble bath, to make sure that you have that self-care routine. Make sure you're honoring your self-compassion plan so that you can de-stress, unplug, and release so that you can recharge. Is very important. Stick to your budget. When we are emotional, we tend to do things to make us feel better, like spending sometimes a little more than what we have. If we are emotional spenders, we can kind of get ourselves in trouble. So make sure that if you're going to have a little spending account for those days, set yourself a limit and make sure you stay within your budget. Now, a couple other things when we're talking about food and how our health evokes our moods. So when we talk about different things, as I was doing some research and some information I thought was quite interesting, that when we minimize our sugar and we increase our vitamin B, and for African Americans particularly, our vitamin D is very important, and also B12, because B12, a lack of B12 can trigger depression. So especially ladies, there are certain times of the month that our vitamins and certain things can get depleted based upon what may be going on in our body. So it's very important that we have a good amount of vitamin B, B complex, and B12 within our body, and specifically vitamin D, especially when we're now out in the sun a lot. Now that it gets darker a lot earlier, vitamin D is very important, and vitamin D3 is very helpful. So a couple of things: leafy green vegetables have folate, which is very good for your brain cells. Of course, caffeine gives you that little bitter energy. Green tea is something else that's good without all of the caffeine, but it is very good for your body. Brazil nuts, for those of you who can eat them, it has selenium in it, selenium, which is also a good brain food. And then your omega-3 fatty acids that you find in salmon, which is really good as well. So a lot of these things can be found in a good multivitamin. I personally take a liquid multivitamin, and it gives me that boost of energy. It helps me to have the energy that I need all day and takes care of that brain fog. And I've noticed the difference. I'm not one that likes to take a lot of pills or like to take a lot of capsules. Liquid, whatever I can get my hands on, is the best thing for me. And you can easily put it in some juice or something like that. But a good multivitamin that has the amounts of B12, some type of B complex, and also the omega-3s is very, very important, and also vitamin D. So if you have some information you like on a multivitamin, I'll be more than happy to share that with you as well. So when we talk about our thoughts, and we want to go to this, is challenge your thinking. When we talk about mindfulness, challenge that negative thought that comes up. And you want to pretty much put it on the witness stand and cross-examine that thought. You are the judge and you are the jury of that thought. You cross-examine that thought and ask, what is your purpose? Why are you here? What is the end result, and what is the tactic that you're trying to invoke? So when that negative thought comes about, you ask the questions: where did it come from? How long you planning on staying? And for those of you who are part of Always Journal, you've learned this from Alicia. You challenge that thought so that you can deal with it head on and not take on the thought and possess the thought. You're going to cast it down. You're to cast down every vain imagination, every high thought that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. Meaning that God knows the wonderful things that He has for you, how He has prepared your life. And when those negative thoughts come, they're not for us to consume. They're not for us to take on. So we cross-examine that thought, and we become the judge and the jury and tell that, no, I am telling you, you are not going to stay. And this is your sentence that you're going to leave, because I am not that negative thought. I am this. And we have to make sure that we stay in the habit of diminishing the negative thought and exalting the positive. And that was a hard thing to do, because I had spent so much time in that place of depression, thinking negatively was easy. So I had to work real hard at affirmations and confirmations and say them in my mind over and over and over again so that it became a natural thing. So understanding our triggers, understanding our emotions, and taking the labels off. The negative labels and putting and replacing it with the positive. So once you identify these negative patterns, again, you challenge them and you tell them they're not true. That's a lie and this is the truth. And you continue to tell yourself the positive truth. So as we've done these things, a couple of things I want to share with you that, again, depression is a clinical diagnosis and is also a spirit. So with that, on the spiritual side, there is some spiritual warfare that you have to do. Prayer, your worship is important, in God's word. That's your combat from that on the spiritual side. On the clinical side, you may have to go to counseling. You may have to have a therapist. So one of the things that I want to share with someone who you know may be from a clinical standpoint, who may need counseling, you can go to nbcc.org. nbcc.org is a database of certified counselors. It's a national board of certified counselors that you can find within your local area. Because it's okay to have someone to talk to. It's okay to have a counselor. If you feel as though you may not need a certified counselor, then you could possibly have a coach. A coach can help you in those places where you're stuck. I deal specifically with emotions and emotional intelligence to help people to get unstuck and how to express their emotions and to not feel guilty about sharing how they feel and give them constructive ways to share their emotions without feeling any shame or guilt and to help manage those relationships. So you can do that. Now, for anyone that you may know that may be a very critical state to the point of suicide, then you have the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, and that number is 1-800-273-8255. And I'm going to put this information in the comments. Depression is real, but there are many different things that we can do to combat that. And one of the things that I want to share with you is very important is laughter is always the best medicine. Whoever you can find that you know that person's going to make you laugh, that's the person you need to spend time with. If you have a favorite movie that you know that's going to make you laugh, that's the movie you need to put on and you need to keep watching it until you feel better. Laughter will always be the best medicine. Fill your life full of joy. If you need to paint the walls yellow, do just that. Have that room that you need to go in with all the colors, all the pictures, all the things that make you feel happy. Those are the things that we have to do to combat depression during the holidays. And I understand we've had some people that we have lost, but this is a time to create those beautiful memories, to share the stories that bring us joy and bring us so much laughter. Okay? I love you all so much. I just wanted to share those things with you that you can use as tools as we go through the holidays. If you have any additional questions, please put them in the comments. I will definitely respond. If you want to reach out, you can reach out to me directly. I can also be found at ericabishop.com, and I will also be sharing a couple other tools on my website. So please go there as well. I love you so much. Be blessed, and I'll see you next week.